can start.
Hi, my name is Hillary Wright.
And I'm Liz Ward.
And we are here today to talk about ketogenic diets as they relate to weight management.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that they have a long history of other applications, primarily around managing seizures.
Right, in children.
In children.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it because I've done some research, and what I found out is that in the 1920s they found that this type of diet, which is probably 75-80% fat,
80%.
There's no official, there is for treating seizures, but for the weight loss,
no, that's part of the problem.
There's no official keto diet, but very, very high in fat, moderate in protein, and extremely low in carbohydrates. And they found that helped quell a lot of seizures in children. And it was really quite the discovery, because back then they didn't have the drugs that they have now to do that.
And I'm sure if you're a parent of one of those kids who was having like 30 seizures a day,
yeah,
it was worth doing what it took to follow that kind of diet.
Definitely. And now even with drugs, it's still used. And again, I'm not an expert in epilepsy in children, so I would never comment on that, but you have to be really careful. I mean, you can't just feed your kid this really high fiber, high fat diet, because you are missing out on foods that have other nutrients. So how did it become a weight control diet?
Well, what's interesting is because I work at Dana-Farber a couple days a week, it's also currently now gaining some interest because of the interest as to whether it may have a role to play in cancer survivorship, particularly for people with brain tumors. And those diets are like 80% fat, 10% carbohydrate, 10% protein. But again, we don't recommend them at this point because we don't have evidence that tells us that they provide benefit without risk. So people have to always remember that research is not just there to prove something works, it's there to make sure it doesn't hurt you in some way.
Exactly.
So it's gained popularity for other reasons that may be a little bit more legit, but in the weight control world, I just see it as a spin-off of one more really low carb diet. I also believe to be true, and this is from talking to lots of people who come to me who've been on this diet or on this diet, and they want to know what do I think about it for weight management. A lot of people aren't really following ketogenic diet. They're probably following more like an Atkins kind of a thing, because a real keto diet will restrict your protein pretty significantly as well.
Yeah.
And so I just see it as one more over-restrictive diet in a long line of over-restrictive diets that we've been practicing for the past several decades that maybe will produce some sort of short-term gain, but we don't have evidence there's any long-term weight loss benefits. Because of the evidence that I've seen, I don't know about you, suggests when you go on like a ketogenic diet, like a really low carb diet, initially there may be some rapid weight loss, and we know that a lot of that is fluid. Because just because you're not eating carbs doesn't mean you don't need glucose, so your body just dumps all its glycogen into your blood, which is stored glucose. Every gram of that stuff is laid down in an ounce of fluid. So people get really jacked when they lose 5
pounds, in
a week or more. So the compared to other calorie restricted plans, what I've seen is that initially there might be a little bit more weight loss, but at a year there's no difference between that and any other way somebody might try to control their calories. So in the meantime, you might have made yourself miserable. You probably were following a super over restrictive diet that's too low in all the stuff that we know is good for you. And, I fear that it sets a lot of people up for one more round of lose the weight, get excited, and then somehow realize, you can't actually transition off those diets without expecting your weight to change.
So let's talk about how you actually, lose weight. Like what happens when you go on a keto diet? Like what, and I don't mean lose weight in the sense of, that it's any better than any other lower calorie diet, but in really restricting the carbohydrates, it forces your body to use fat, right? To break down fat and create ketone bodies, which is why it's called the keto diet. And these ketone bodies can be used for energy, much like glucose is used for energy. And glucose is what is coming from carbohydrates, right? And also generated in part from protein as well. Okay. So I think the allure, the attraction is, if I eat a very high fat diet, I don't give myself very many carbs. I'm going to burn all the fat, off my body. And, in truth, like Hillary's saying, yeah, you lose weight, but, the science says you don't lose any more weight or keep it off any more easily than any other lower calorie diet. And the other thing that we're concerned about as dietitians, especially at midlife, is that by eliminating so many fruits and vegetables, right, and so many whole grains, that you're just not getting enough of the nutrients that you need. And secondly, with it's very hard to do a keto diet, with just fish or like leaner sources of protein. Like, in order to get your calories up there, you're going to have to eat a lot of fat, and some of that fat may be saturated.
Oh, and some of the plans specifically advocate kind of strategies like, and some of us have heard of this keto bomb where people put coconut oil in their coffee.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even drink coffee,
Yeah.
So I can't even appreciate what that even tastes like, but it sounds nasty to me.
You would definitely not like it then.
And what I always come back to also, because I sometimes see this in my fertility practice where women want to they've been told they're heavy and it might affect their fertility and they want to dump that weight fast. Why would we want to be telling your body that you might be starving?
Yeah.
Because that's what ketosis is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plan B form of metabolism to get people through droughts and famine. So like when you're burning a lot of ketones, it actually can mute your appetite.
Okay.
And so that's a good thing if you're like a starving cave girl. Because
back
if you're
to the cave people.
Exactly.
Wait, do we ever do one of these videos when the cave people
No.
don't come up? Okay. So back to the cave people who had that's your
it's
basic
mandatory
metabolism. Yeah.
It's it defies the way human bodies work to think that we can just crank down our calories and our body's not going to react to that in some way.
Yeah.
So any way that you restrict your calories to the point where they kind of used to be here and now they're down here, there's a very rare chance that your body's not going to say, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to learn how to run more efficiently. So we advocate just trying to like trim up your calories, be aware of your calorie margins.
Your extras.
Yeah, like eat a little bit less, but not so much less that your brain might decide that you're starving and start to shift things on the inside.
And you're saying, in essence, lower your metabolic rate over time. Right. So
because
it
it's
becomes
a survival thing.
even harder to burn calories. So, all right. So can you tell that we don't like the keto diet? I mean, is that coming through?
Can you tell that we've been dietitians for a really long time, and this is one in a long line of diets that are unlikely to last long term because they're so restrictive, and people lose weight as a result of what they're doing, and there's no research that tells us you can over restrict for a period of time and then somehow transition back to a normal life.
No.
And nothing's going to happen with your weight because you paid your dues
Ugh.
with the nasty diet.
So you don't have to pay your dues with the menopause diet plan. We're telling you, it's enjoyable. You'll love it. It's plant-based. It's delicious.
The idea is to eat healthfully and enjoy food, so you can still live an enjoyable life,
Right.
not a keto existence.
Okay. We're going to get a lot of crap from keto people, I think.
Maybe, I don't care.
Bring it.
I don't
Bring it.
care. Bring it seriously.
Have you tried keto? Let us know. If you're a keto fan, that's okay. We can politely disagree. And until next time.